Imagine planning your future, paying for tuition, booking flights, arranging accommodation, all for Australia. Long one of the world's most sought-after destinations for students, skilled workers, and adventurers. Yet, just as you're about to take off, you discover that rules have changed. What you thought was a sure pathway might now shut at any moment. High-risk regions are under scrutiny. Visa fees skyrocket. Eligibility criteria tighten. That dream, suddenly, seems more distant. In 2025, Australia is not merely tweaking its visa policies, it is redefining them. For many prospective immigrants, students, and temporary visa holders, the door that once stood ajar now closes a little more each year. This is not just about paperwork, it's about access, fairness, risk, and whose dreams get reality and whose get deferred. Main body, key trends in visa bans and restrictions in 2025. Below are some of the major shifts in Australia's visa policy as of 2025, particularly restrictions and bans, what they mean, and who is most affected. Area of visa policy: what's changing has changed implications and who's impacted. Student visas and associated tightening. Several Indian states, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, have seen student visa applications paused or restricted due to concerns of fraud and misuse. Financial requirements have gone up. For example, proof of funds required for student visas raised significantly. Visa application fees for student visas also increased from 1,600 Australian dollars to about 2,000 Australian dollars, effective 1 July 2025. English language or test standards tightened in some cases. Restrictions on visa hopping, e.g. moving from visitor or graduate visa to student visa while on shore, are being enforced more strictly. These changes make it harder and more expensive for international students. Applicants from certain Indian states are particularly affected. Those planning to study in Australia now need larger savings, better documentation, and must often apply from their home countries. Educational institutions relying on foreign student enrolments may see disruptions. Skilled migration and work-related visas. Increase in income thresholds. Skilled visas now often require higher minimum income levels, e.g. in skilled, employer-sponsored visas, or skills in demand streams. Changes in how occupations are designated in demand. The Core Skills Occupation List, CSOL, is being used updated. Temporary graduate visas, subclass 485, have seen age limits introduced or tightened, e.g. up to 35 years, except for certain postgraduate or research degree holders. Visa application charges increased across many categories. For skilled workers, especially those from lower income backgrounds, these changes raise the barrier. Higher thresholds mean fewer people qualify. More stringent verification of documents to combat fraud, academic credentials, financial status, English language ability. Regions with previously higher rates of fraudulent documentation are under closer scrutiny. Condition 8503 being more widely enforced, limiting ability of some temporary visa holders to change visa subclass while in Australia. Increased visa fees overall, not just for students but also for employer-sponsored and partner visas. The government is keen to reduce net migration and align visa policy more with labour market needs rather than allowing oversupply or misuse. These make the visa process slower, more expensive, and riskier for applicants. Smaller mistakes or less than perfect paperwork are likelier to lead to rejections. The changing rules can be hard to track, so applicants who start under one set of rules may find themselves facing very different requirements by the time of application or decision. Specific regional or demographic impacts are applicants from certain Indian states are facing disproportionate restrictions and scrutiny. BR. Some Pacific nations and neighbouring countries may not be affected as severely. In some cases, rules are more favourable where bilateral labour mobility schemes already exist. BR are countries or applicants with weaker proof of finances, less established English testing, or academic credentials that are harder to verify are more exposed to risk. Possibility of discrimination, intentional or not, based on region or nationality. For many, restrictions are not based on merit but on risk assessment. Organisations that help with migration, agents, universities, community groups, are under more pressure to ensure all documentation is watertight. Driving factors are rationale behind the changes. To understand why Australia is imposing stricter visa bans and restrictions now, here are the underlying motivations. Combating visa misuse and fraud. Fraudulent or non-genuine visa applications have been increasing. especially via student routes. The government wants to protect the integrity of the immigration and education systems, housing affordability and infrastructure. Strains, high levels of migration and temporary visa holders place pressure on housing, services, and infrastructure. Some visa restriction policies are in part a response to these domestic challenges, aligning migration with labour market needs. Rather than accepting all kinds of applicants, Australia aims to focus on skills it actually needs, high-skilled workers, those who can contribute immediately, rather than those who may become burdens on social systems or not integrate. Cost and revenue considerations. Visa application fees are a source of governmental revenue. Raising them helps offset processing costs, regulatory oversight, and associated service delivery. Political pressures and public sentiment. Migration is a political issue. Rising population, housing costs, and public services stress can make stricter immigration and visa policies more popular with certain segments of the electorate. Governments respond by tightening rules. Examples: case studies. India's regional restrictions. Some Australian universities have paused accepting applications from states like Punjab, Haryana, etc., owing to concerns of misuse. Student visa fee increases. From the 1st of July, 2025, the student visa application charge rises from $1,600 to approximately $2,000. Higher income thresholds for skilled visas. For example, as of July, the core skills income threshold, CSIT, and specialist skills income threshold, SSIT, have been increased. Visa hopping crackdown. The practice of entering Australia on one visa subclass and switching to another while on shore, visitor, student, etc., is now much more restricted. Risks, criticisms, and unintended consequences. Impact on legitimate applicants. Those with valid credentials and intent are sometimes caught up in blanket restrictions or increased scrutiny, leading to delays or even rejections. Education sector may suffer. International students are a major revenue source for Australian universities. Massive drops in enrolments can lead to financial losses, job losses, and reduced global competitiveness. Diplomatic soft power ramifications. Tightened visa regimes could strain bilateral relations, especially with countries feeling unfairly targeted. Also impacts Australia's image as welcoming. Brain drain and talent diversion. Talented people may choose countries with more favourable visa rules. Canada, New Zealand, US, UK, instead of Australia. Losing out in competition for global talent. Equity issues. Students or workers from less developed regions, or with limited resources to present perfect documentation, may be disproportionately disadvantaged. Final takeaway. So, what lies ahead as we move further into 2025 and beyond? The patterns suggest that Australia is leaning toward a future where access is stricter, where entry is not just about desire or merit but about scrutiny, risk management, and economic alignment. For those planning to apply, the window remains open, but it's narrowing every day. The stakes are high. Miss one detail in your application, and you might be denied. Show less than perfect financial proof, and doors may close. Come from a flagged region, even if your credentials are outstanding, and expect additional hurdles. Accepting that, understanding the new terrain is crucial. In many ways, Australia in 2025 is sending a message. The dream is still possible, but you'll need sharper preparation, stronger credentials, and patience. And for those watching, the question looms. Will these restrictions tighten until only the most elite succeed? Or will reforms restore some openness? Once the concerns are addressed,